official podcast. We are your hosts. Once again, I am TJ Kern. That is Blake Hartsfield. Blake, unfortunately, I had to miss the game this last week. I had a bunch of family in town. My aunt passed away, and so we had family coming from out of state. So it was during the game time. A lot of stuff going on. But I know you were tuned in as the Red Raiders beat Arizona State. And I saw the score, saw we got out to a 14-0 clip. So I did see that. Saw we got off to a fast start and was looking good. And then it looks like the Red Raiders held on for the 30-22 victory.
Yeah, TJ. First off, I'm sorry for the loss in your family. Prayers for you guys. But the Red Raiders did get it done on Saturday. TJ, I would say it was a good, not great game. It was a game that they were expected to win. They were favored to win, and they end up doing that. The offense, they did get off to. They did cover.
All right, there you go.
So they won and covered. So we always say good teams win and great teams cover, right? But I wouldn't call this a great game. Good game, solid performance. It felt to me like the score was closer than the game actually was. I don't think that the 8-point win does justice to how well Tech played in this game, how much they controlled the game, kind of from start to finish. You mentioned they got off to the great fast start. Kind of let ASU back into the game due to mistakes that we'll get into here in a few minutes, but. As a whole, a positive step in the right direction. They're able to string wins together, and you move to 1-0 in the Big 12.
1-0 in the Big 12, always important to hold down home field, as we like to say in football. And they did win a game there at the Jones. So real quick, why don't we go to your guy, man? How'd Baron Morton look?
Baron Morton had a good game, TJ. The stats, again, I don't think do justice to the game that he played. Only 201 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The quarterback rating is probably a little lower than I would have anticipated. He did have a couple drops from receivers, didn't get any help there, but he took care of the football. He made plays when they needed him to make it. He didn't make mistakes and let Arizona State back in the game. And they leaned on Taj Brooks in this game, TJ. They give him 27 carries for 117 yards. He just kind of churns it out. A lot of tough yards in there, churning it out. And TJ, the most impressive thing to me from this game on the offensive side of the football is they showed something that they haven't been able to do for a long time, and that was close a game out in a competitive game against a good opponent. And what I mean by that is they had back-to-back drives late in the second half that ended up being field goals. They settled for field goals because of penalties. But they took, I think, just under 11 minutes over those 2 drives. Each drive was 5.5 to 6 minutes. They slowed the game down. They win the time of possession, 34 minutes to 26 minutes. And they closed the game out in the second half. They didn't make mistakes, and they did the things they needed to do to get to 1-0.
And I did see the box score and saw our good buddy Josh Kelly again with 10 catches leading the way for the receivers.
Yeah, he had a great game. We've talked about him multiple times on this podcast this season. He is a legit number 1 weapon. They're looking for him all the time, trying to force him the ball. He's always seems to be open, ready to make a play for this team. So it's great having a legitimate number 1 wide receiver.
No doubt about that. And let's switch gears a little bit and hop on over to the defensive side of the things. Looked like they had to hold on late.
Yeah, TJ, the defense is making progress. They're very clearly still a work in progress. They are a young group that is learning on the fly, learning on the job. They still had some breakdowns in coverage in this game, and McGuire talked about that a little bit in his press conference yesterday. But they're getting a little better on that back end. Their communication has been a little bit better. To me, TJ, the biggest thing that they got to cut down on is like the drive extending penalties. And they took 3 penalties in this game, TJ, that were non-football related, where they pushed a guy down on a pile. And I mean, you just got to know you're going to get 15-yard penalty for that, or taunting, or just dumb like really dumb penalties that they got to cut down on. But it's an evolving group. They had a good, not great game. I think they need to be a little bit better against the run still, and that's going to prove true this week against Cincinnati, who has a very good running back coming in here. But a step in the right direction for the defense for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the penalties because I did see that. kind of sloppy on that side.
9 for 94, TJ, but as a team. But again, to me, the two most frustrating types of penalties are non-football penalties. So you get an unsportsmanlike conduct, you get, unnecessary roughness, things like that after a play when it's a dead ball situation. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's the continued pre-snap penalties where it's an illegal shift or it's, a false start and it just kills drives. And it's something that this team has been plagued with all year. They take a lot of penalties. They're one of the highest, lowest ranked teams in the country in terms of penalties taken. And they got to get better at it. McGuire talked about it again yesterday at his press conference. They're bringing in officials to practice, but this team's got to be more disciplined. There's just no other way to sugarcoat that. And they're lucky that, this was against Arizona State, a team that they're better than. But if you commit 9 penalties for, 94 yards against Oklahoma State on the road, against Iowa State on the road that are coming up here on this schedule, those are going to be tough football games to go win
Against
against good
Arizona
teams.
on the road?
Yeah, again, and next week against Arizona. So, good first win. Still a lot of things to clean up, in my opinion, on both sides of the football. But you're 1-0, and you've got a chance to be 2-0 this week. I think Cincinnati's pretty equal in caliber in terms of the team that they are compared to Arizona State. Still 2 bottom half Big 12 teams at home. You expect to be 2-0. So let's see if they can take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything considered, right? We were a little hurt week 1, obviously, with the way the defense played and just the fact that they really should have lost that game to Abilene Christian.
Yeah.
Then they do go to Washington State and get boat raced pretty much. The score doesn't even reflect how bad it was. And then they do the boat racing against UNT, took care of business. And by the way, that UNT team took out Wyoming pretty big this last week. So I'm thinking that might have been a better win than we actually thought at the time. But, man, then you take care of business against Arizona State. So, again here, as bad as we felt after 2 weeks about this team, I'm not ready to say that this team's going to be a nine-win team yet. But improvement.
They're making progress.
Improvement, right?
It's very clear
like you can come out this week and get a win, and you're 4-1 and 2-0 in the Big 12. Going to Arizona, I mean, it's the season's riding the ship 1 week at a time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've put back-to-back good games together at home against North Texas, against a team that everybody was a little wary of after the Washington State game, and North Texas can score some points, and you put 66 past them, hold them to 21, and then you follow it up by by leveling up in classification against an Arizona State team, and you win again and again. The 30-22 score line is not indicative of how well you played. I thought that's a game you probably should have won by 2 touchdowns, given your total body of work in that game. And now you have another opportunity to go prove it. I think Tech fans are fair to be skeptical. I do think that as Washington State continues to win, that loss continues to improve, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, you didn't play well at all that night up in Pullman. So go beat Cincinnati, get yourself to 2-0, and then bottom line for me, TJ, I feel good about this team at home. I think that most Red Raiders feel pretty good about this team at home, other than the Abilene Christian game, which was a disaster in and of itself. I think you feel pretty good at home. My question, and this has been a problem throughout the Joe McGuire area, can you go win on the road? Can you go on the road, and can you beat a good team on the road like Arizona? And we'll see that next week if they take care of business this week.
Yeah, first and foremost, they do have Cincinnati coming into town, the Kelsey brothers' alma mater, coming into Lubbock. And I saw a clip today on Twitter. Apparently, when Kingsbury got hired and Tuberville left town to go to Cincinnati, he was clamoring to get old Cincy on the schedule. And ironically, the Washington Commanders, led by Cliff Kingsbury's offense, beats the Cincinnati Bengals on the same week that the Texas Tech Red Raiders do get those Cincinnati Bearcats coming to Lubbock. So a little bit of irony there.
Yeah, for sure, man. This can be a tough game, TJ. It's not a layup. It's a game you're going to have to play well in. I love the fact that we're getting a 7:00 kickoff at home, a night game at the Jones. They've already announced it's a blackout, so they're not waiting until Thursday for the weekly uniform reveal. Any Tech fan who's been around for as long as you and I have fond memories of night games in Lubbock where we wear all black uniforms. Go out and take care of business. They've got a very good, this is a game, TJ, that schematically I think Tech Should win, and I think they will cover. They're currently a 4-point favorite. I think that this is a game that you win by a touchdown plus again at home. Um, Two things: you got to stop the run. So their bread and butter is their running game. They struggle to throw the ball a little bit. Kiner, their running back, very good. He's got 64 carries on the year, 404 yards, and 2 scores. Experienced, good back, tough to bring down, good football player. And then offensively, this is a team that runs the Iowa State 3-3-5 stack. Their defensive coordinator is directly out of that Iowa State tree. It's a defense that you've seen twice already this year. Abilene Christian runs the 3-3-5 stack out of that system, as does North Texas. Both have got former Iowa State, position coaches as their coordinators. TJ, that's 2 games your offense was very successful in. You put 52 past Abilene Christian and then 66 on North Texas. So schematically, this offense has got some things they like against this 3-3-5 stack. Obviously, Cincinnati's going to, in theory, have more talent than both teams that you've played already. But schematically, I think you've got good ways to attack this defense. It's a game I expect the Red Raiders to win and cover.
Win and cover. My guy Blake Hartsfield always, for you bettors out there, he's always looking out for you guys. So, Nation's official podcast, TJ and Blake. And Blake, man, like we said, right? Take care of business. We kind of talked about this game. I don't want to overlook it by any stretch, but they did beat Arizona State. We talked about this 2-game stretch kind of together, right?
It should be talked about. It should be talked about together. It's 2 games against, again, teams that are projected to finish in the bottom half of the Big 12. Not to say that they will, but they're projected to be bottom half of the Big 12 teams. At home, you expect to be 2-0. If you're the team that Joey McGuire and everybody thinks that walk around like they are out in Lubbock. So take care of business, get to 2-0, and then set up go prove that to everybody in the Big 12 and Red Raider land that you can go on the road and play a good football game, because no one has any confidence that you can do it right now.
Yeah, and how about that kick time that was announced for next week's game in Arizona? 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Blake, are you ready for a late night of football?
Coffee, TJ, coffee. I'll be drinking a cup about 6 or 7 o'clock that night to prepare to be up until, look, there's 2 teams that throw the football. So this game could easily go to 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning if it's a close competitive football game. So gear up. I wasn't thrilled to see the 10 o'clock Central Time start. At 9 o'clock is tough. That's kind of what I was expecting. 10 o'clock's brutal. I mean, that's pretty late. So on we go.
All the other games are wrapping up, and then it's like, oh snap!
Here comes
another game on the tube. Oh wait,
hey, you know what? It's a game that will get a lot of action in Vegas for people trying to get themselves out of a hole from that they've dug for the rest of the game. It's funny thing is on Saturdays the most heavily bet game every week in college football is the Hawaii home game late night kick that kicks off at like midnight Eastern time. Because everybody's loading up on that, trying to dig themselves out of a hole before they got to go meet the bookie on Monday. So,
or before they can get out of a hole betting on Sunday, right?
Exactly. So, no, I'm sure it'll have a lot of action in Vegas. I expect this line to move a little bit before kickoff, but take the Red Raiders to cover.
All right, so the Red Raiders cover this week. And Blake, before we shut everything down, man, how about that Taj Brooks passing? I believe it was DeAndre Washington as we continue all-time Red Raider rushing leader march.
Yeah, he continues to creep up the list. I expect by the end of the season, if he stays healthy, that he will be the Tech's all-time leading rusher. I've said that, and he's on pace to do it. So Taj Brooks is. We probably don't spend enough time talking about how good that guy is, but he makes everything on the offensive side of the ball easier, and he just does his job, man. He's consistent. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to come out and give you 4 to 5 yards of carry. He's going to run hard, do the dirty work, and he's a really, really good football player for this team.
Well, good deal. So, about a couple of keys before we get out of here.
Like I said, TJ, stop the run. And then I think the key on offense is going to be the offensive line has to take care of their defensive end. That's, I think, second in the Big 12 in sacks. They've got to give Baron Morton time on 2nd and 7 and 3rd and 6. But I think if you can block out their one defensive end and you can stop their running game, this is a game you should win pretty comfortably.
There we go. And I do apologize to Red Raider Nation again. Did have the family event over the weekend, so I was not able to watch. So we rely on good old Blake Hartsfield there for some hard hitting analysis each week here on the Nation's official podcast. Blake, we appreciate it. And man, it's a shorter one this week, but I think we are looking forward to the game this Saturday against Cincinnati, and we'll be back at it again next week.
Absolutely, TJ. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating a 2-0 football team that's tied for first in the Big 12 and an opportunity to go to Arizona and prove some people wrong. So,
all right. How do we always end it?
wreck 'em.
We'll talk to you guys next time right here on the Nation's official podcast.